Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've ever found yourself wondering exactly how a country engineers massive export growth right from the ground up, well, you're definitely in the right place today. We're going to completely unpack the EPZA framework, which is essentially Pakistan's industrial engine. We'll look at how it was designed, how it actually functions day to day, and, maybe most importantly, what it means for the future of international trade. So think about this. How do you bypass bureaucracy to build a global export empire, right? It's kind of the ultimate economic puzzle. In the world of international trade, red tape can absolutely strangle growth before it even gets off the ground. We're talking taxes, endless customs hurdles, just pure regulatory friction. Well, today, we're going to see exactly how one very specific authority was built from scratch to solve this massive problem.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The Island of Efficiency. 2. The Evolution of the EPZA. 3. The Investor Cheat Codes. 4. A Tour of the Zones. And finally, number 5, the Impact and Legacy.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the Island of Efficiency and how exactly we go about bypassing the red tape. Now, to really grasp the brilliance of the EPZA solution, we first need to define our baseline problem, which is what we call the tariff area. This is just the standard national economy. If you go and open a factory here, you're subjected to all the typical regulations, local taxes, and those complex customs hurdles we just talked about. Basically, it's a super high-friction environment, and honestly, it actively deters foreign investment.
So, to fix this, the Export Processing Zones Authority, or EPZA for short, was specifically designed as an autonomous body to completely bypass all those bureaucratic headaches. The goals here are crystal clear. Create duty-free and tax-free enclaves, massively boost national exports, attract foreign direct investment, and of course, facilitate the transfer of advanced technology. It's a highly purposeful strategy to just create these incredibly efficient little pockets of industry. Moving on to Section 2, the evolution of the EPZA, going from 1980 all the way to CPAC.
This whole initiative was actually born out of a strategic desire to emulate those booming East Asian tiger economies. It officially kicked off back in 1980 with the EPZA Ordinance, and then literally just a year later, the flagship Karachi zone launched on what was basically 211 acres of totally barren land. Fast forward to the 90s, and hubs like Sialkot really expanded that footprint. Then the 2000s saw this massive pivot into mineral zones, and now, well, in the 2020s, these zones are integrating directly with the massive China-Pakistan economic corridor. It's been wild to watch.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the EPZA maintains its autonomous edge. They rely on a very strict, multi-tier hierarchy. Step 1 is the board of directors setting policy, and this includes major players, like the Federal Board of Revenue and the State Bank. Step 2 is executive management handling the day-to-day grind. And Step 3, that's field operations. We're talking zone managers and fully independent custom units stationed right inside the zones themselves for 24/7, ultra-rapid clearing. Which brings us to Section 3, the Investor Cheat Codes. Let's look at the actual mechanics of this efficiency.
I want you to imagine for a second that you're a foreign investor looking for an edge. Just notice the stark contrast here. On the left, in a standard tariff area, you were dealing with multiple regulators, intense currency volatility, and standard, slow customs. But look on the right. In the EPZ environment, you get a one-window service, duty-free imports, and, this is absolutely crucial, a foreign convertible currency shield, meaning all your transactions are conducted in foreign currency. It completely protects you from any local rupee volatility. It's a real game changer.
Let's actually drill down into that one-window service for a second. Basically, investors receive their no-objection certificates, their utility connections, and literally all their approvals directly from the EPZA. You don't need to spend months running around town to the Federal Board of Revenue or the State Bank. The EPZA acts as your single, unified point of interface for the whole shebang.
100. Honestly, this number is arguably the biggest cheat code of them all. Under the EPZA framework, foreign investors are allowed exactly 100% foreign ownership. And on top of that, there's a rock-solid guarantee of 100% full repatriation of your capital and your profits. Absolutely zero limits holding back foreign capital.
Let's keep moving. Section 4, a tour of the zones. We're mapping out the engine now. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the tangible geography of these industrial islands. You've got the Karachi EPZ focusing heavily on IT and precision engineering, and then Sialkot, which is renowned globally for its surgical instruments. But take a close look at the shift at the bottom of the list there. Sandak and Reko Dig are entirely dedicated to gold and copper mining. That is a massive structural pivot away from traditional things like textiles, moving straight into highly strategic resource mining.
And within this framework, you've got these highly specialized sub-centers popping up. The National Steel Complex, for example, they focus on direct reduced iron technology. Because the ultimate goal here isn't just, basic assembly. It's actually about pushing the entire country towards self-sufficiency in advanced industrial materials. They want to be exporting high-grade steel through true, meaningful technology transfer.
All right, our final section, Section 5, the impact and legacy, the blueprint for the future. The real, direct human impact of all this is perfectly captured in this number, 50,000. These zones currently provide direct employment to over 50,000 workers. And what's especially vital to point out here is that this includes a highly significant percentage of female employees, particularly in the modernized high-security electronics and textile sectors. That's a huge shift.
Now, taking a slightly broader view, the structural impact of the EPZA is just undeniable. These zones are contributing millions of dollars in annual export earnings to the national exchequer. They're acting like giant funnels for advanced technology transfer from countries like the UK, the UAE, and China. Plus, they're actively integrating digitally with the National Single Window for Trade.
But, perhaps most importantly, they serve as the foundational DNA for future megaprojects. As this quote lays out perfectly, the one-window model, pioneered by EPZA, has become the blueprint for Pakistan's modern special economic zones. Think about that. An experiment that started with just 211 barren acres way back in 1980 literally proved that if you simply remove the friction, the investment flows. And that exact same model is now the foundation for the massive economic zones being built today.
So, this all brings us to one final thought-provoking question. As global trade just keeps getting more and more complex, will these isolated islands of efficiency eventually just become the new standard for the entire economy? I mean, if an optimized, friction-free environment is exactly what it takes to compete on a global scale today, perhaps the ultimate goal isn't just to build more of these islands. Maybe the goal is to drain the sea of red tape entirely. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.